Xeraxia, Wrath of the God King by Adrian. Chapter 1. What the hell even is this? I hopelessly asked myself for clarity while watching the morning sunlight bounce across his face. Christian's dreadlocks fell over his eyes, but I could tell that he was awake. He was probably still drunk, but awake nonetheless. Why are you staring? Christian's full lips moved so that he could launch a smile at me. He was pretty hard on himself in the gym and it showed. His athletic body was half covered by the sheets but still managed to draw and hold my attention. Every time I looked at him, I could only wish that I had even half his level of motivation. Although at times I wondered if it was only his desire to be healthy that kept him so impossibly disciplined. Christian was tall, dark, and handsome, and he knew it. Men and women alike were captivated by his charm and appearance. This got him into and out of trouble quite easily. In many ways, the only thing Christian and I had in common with each other was the complexion of our dark brown skin. I was a twinky 23-year-old, and my femininity was not hard to miss. My voice was light, and the only exercise I ever did was dancing in the club. I changed the style of my hair practically every other week, and that day it was separated into two huge puffs sitting on my head. I had a personality that broke a lot of status quos, but Christian was nothing like that. Christian's voice was as deep as his calm. His nonchalant attitude about everything had pissed me off more times than I could remember, especially since he usually was just pretending to be unbothered. He was 25, but his chiseled face made everyone think that he was even older. It didn't matter that Christian was never violent because no one would dare try to fuck with him anyway. "I'm trying to make sure you're still alive after last night," I said. "God damn, you can drink." "We can drink," he corrected. "Don't put all that shit on me. I bet you don't even remember being on the stage last night." Christian eyed me. "Never happened," I said. "Well, Snapchat begs to differ," he shot back. "You're gay ass. I don't even know why you dance like that and expect people not to record it." "Oh my God," I said, "can you just fucking delete it? I haven't even seen it yet and I'm ready to choke you." "Come catch me then," Christian grinned, threw a pillow in my face, and then shuffled out of his room. I'd only tasted him one time before, but the way he looked in all of that nothing made me want seconds. I often wondered if he felt the same way about me. Outside of the drunken makeout session, I wondered if he wanted anything more. It was killing me inside to act like that wasn't a space I wanted to explore with him. I was just too nervous to say anything. I jeered as I looked around the room. Clothes everywhere, closet disheveled. It was a fucking mess, although the only reason my place was so clean was probably because many of my belongings were there in his room. It was my millionth time looking at the many sports players posted on his dark gray walls, and I was still puzzled by it all. He never talked about any of these athletes, and I think I'd seen him watch a sports game in full only once. Whatever, I thought. Christian is strange, but who isn't? I reached over to my right and picked up one of the remotes that lay on Christian's desk. Before long, I was flipping through the channels and hoping that the TV in front of me would cure my boredom. "Hey Xander, what are you trying to eat?" Christian's shouting from the kitchen reminded me of how much I'd convinced myself that we were already a married couple. I should just work up the nerve and ask him. We were sharing beds anyway. "Pizza, I don't care," I shot back. "You always say that, and then..." All right, sushi, exactly. Whatever." I paused to listen as anticipation silently shrieked. "Christian, she came to me last night." Christian rushed back into his room. He was holding an unlit blunt, and a look of concern had smeared itself across his face. "Again?" he asked. "That's 5 times in 3 days." "Well, Christian, she's not telling me exactly, but there's something going on. I can tell she's trying not to worry me, though. She's checking on me damn near every 5 minutes, I responded. "My mother came to me often in my dreams. She lived in another universe on a planet called Xeraxia. I obviously hadn't physically met her, but I felt like I'd known her most of my life because of our mental conversations. These telepathic exchanges with my mother all began a few days after I turned 7 years old. I was convinced that I was going crazy hearing and seeing things, but when my powers started to manifest, I fully embraced and understood how different I was. Do you think it's your father? Christian asked, motioning for my help with the blunt. A small flame erupted from my thumb. He loved to use me as a damn lighter. It's always my father. He's constantly doing stupid shit, but this time it has my mother legitimately worried. I hope she's safe, I told him. Your father is the fucking God King of Emberland. There's no place on Xeraxia where she would be completely safe. He was right. He was also high, and I joined him. Okay, so I have to ask you. I stopped speaking because I felt my powers surge. I twitched embarrassingly as a jolt of energy coursed through my body. Holy shit, your eyes are glowing. Christian quickly put out the blunt and perked up. He knew what that meant and was overjoyed. I, however, was panicking. Why is he here? I thought. I rushed out of Christian's bed so I could throw on more than the pair of underwear I was wearing. I put on his clothes, which were hanging off the side of his bed. They smelled so good. They smelled like him. This boy is literally going to be the death of me. I was all over the place. I rushed outside where I knew he would be, and Christian was hot on my heels. We passed the parking lot and headed straight to the heavily wooded area behind Christian's apartment complex. After hopping an old and battered chain link fence, we walked for less than a minute, and there he was. Javelin, I whisper shouted. Javelin, what are you doing? You can't be here right now. It's the middle of the damn day. I could feel Christian's excitement behind me as we got closer. There he was, black as obsidian and larger than a private jet. I would have had to climb on the top of a telephone pole just to get to the base of his neck if he didn't always lower himself so drastically for me. The daylight reflected off of his glossy scales and threatened my eyes with the glare as he crouched close to the ground on all fours. I tried to hush him. His roar could shake a building, and he was thrilled to see me. My God, he gets bigger by the day, Christian shouted. It's almost like Javelin was the only thing that he got excited about. I remember when he was the size of a cat. Pretty soon he'll... Shh! I don't know if that's a good thing. I'm surprised he made it unnoticed for so long as it is. I turned to Javelin and petted his weirdly comforting skin. It felt like power. It felt familiar. Baby, you gotta go home. Someone will see you out here, I pleaded. My dragon groaned at the request and moved around to avoid eye contact with me. His tail nearly knocked over a small tree as he repositioned himself. Javelin and I were mentally connected, and he came from the planet Xeraxia like my mother. She always used to tell me stories about how uncommon dragons were there. They could live for centuries, but only one is incarnated 1,000 years after the death of the last one. They choose their riders and could very rarely even use their magic to teleport. Teleportation is an extremely difficult task to accomplish, and it could exhaust the dragon's power. At most, he could only use teleportation magic twice in one day, which usually meant just being able to travel to Earth to see me and back home again. But my mother had never heard of a dragon that could trek to different universes to get to their rider. Then again, no rider had ever been universes away from their dragon. Whatever the case, Javelin needed to get back to Emberland on Xeraxia before people here saw him. He's never shown up here. He knows the spots around the city, and this isn't one of them. Christian was right. You guys go flying at night anyway. So even if that's what he wanted, it still doesn't make any sense. He's trying to tell me something, I responded. He wouldn't waste his magic like this for no reason. I tried to focus on feeling Javelin's emotions. Our bond was very strong, but I still wasn't getting much information. It was probably the hangover and my decreasing high messing with my magic. I cursed when my dragon suddenly and loudly uprooted trees as he stretched out his massive wings. The area around us quickly dimmed when he blocked out the sun. His wings were some of the most intriguing things about him. They looked like those of a gigantic bat and appeared to be armored in black and twinkling gemstone. I noticed that he kept motioning his head toward his right wing. The two long, twisting silver horns that sat at the top of his skull were pointing underneath it, and he grunted from his discomfort. He is trying to tell you something. Christian's words trailed off as he glared. I walked underneath Javelin's outstretched wing, unable to see much. Christian didn't nickname him Midnight for nothing. Extending my left arm, I conjured a ball of flame in my hand. The fire cracked loudly and cleared away the darkness. I looked up, and what I saw almost made me pass out. Fuck! I think he'd been fucking tagged, I said. What? Christian shouted. What the hell does that even mean? I signaled for him to come over and look. He did. Oh shit, is that the seal of Emberland? He asked. I think it's from the Emberland police. I knew this day would come. Damn it, I barked. I looked at the magical seal that branded my dragon, a simplistic design, 3 flame symbols encircled that represented the 3 districts of the kingdom of Emberland. I ousted the fire around my hand with a thought and was trying not to let my anxiety spiral out of control. Christian noticed. Breathe, Xander. Christian's voice was soothing. There was no way that you could have kept him a secret forever. Not in this world and not in Xeraxia. We don't even know what it is yet. Can we ask your mother? I'm going to have to, I told him. How? She's the one who contacts you. Don't you have to be in a deep sleep? There's this spell. It involves blood magic, I responded. Okay, that's fucking nasty. So which animal are we Christian paused. The look on my face told him everything. Oh, hell no. Your blood is needed for this shit, Christian yelled. Christian, hush. There's a big-ass dragon in front of us, and the last thing we need is for someone to come looking. I really wanted him to just calm down. Okay, well, I think you should wait for her to contact you, as usual, he shot back. If I wait, Javelin could die. I have no idea what that thing is, and I want it off him now. Didn't your mom say that dragons cannot be killed? He asked. No, it's possible to kill him. It would just be very hard. Either way, I'm not taking any damn chances. Javelin's head was bigger than my whole body, but that didn't stop him from moving it over to lick my face. He was only 2 years old, and he definitely acted like it. Now I'm soaked. Thanks, Jay, I sneered, but I loved our connection. It was so strong that I knew his death would lead to mine too. I tried not to think about it. How many times have you practiced the spell? Christian asked me. What? Well, she taught it to me, I muttered. Christian waited for me to finish talking since he knew the worst was coming. She taught it to me 3 years ago in a dream that I barely remember. It was just in case something crazy happened, I clarified. All those words, and you still haven't answered the question, Christian said with the most pointed tone I'd heard from him. All right, I haven't practiced it, damn it, I admitted while running back towards his apartment. He ran after me. You haven't fucking practiced it, he said as he closed the door behind us. And I'm supposed to what, just let you grab a knife from my kitchen and cut yourself open? I already had the blade in my hands. I accessed my magic and could feel my eyes glowing blue like the flame I could create. That's exactly what I'm going to do, I announced as I ran to the bathroom and locked myself in it. You're not supposed to run with knives, nigga, Christian yelled from outside the door. Stop this shit and let me in, Xander. Christian, if my dragon dies, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind and my life. I need to find out what that shit is on his wing, and I know my mother will have an answer. I cut into a tiny vein on my left arm and allowed a steady trickle of blood to drip into the flame that I was holding in my right palm. Via semita, I said in Iberian, show me mother. I collapsed hard as my mind was transported in search of hers. I could hear Christian's shouts, but he sounded so far away.